As the power crisis eased up, a new challenge emerged. The extreme weather had caused water mains to break, forcing people to drip their faucets to prevent pipes from freezing. Additionally, power outages impacted water treatment plants, resulting in a decrease in the water system pressure. The consequences were dire.
Okay, my friend, sorry I have to pause. This was a real tragedy, right? Actually, I know I have a lot of people watching from Texas. Anyone end up getting affected by this? If so, leave me a comment with your experience, my friend. Today I'll be reacting to the infamous Texas deep freeze 2021. My friends, I remember hearing about this one, but I don't know for sure how bad it was. Before I go into that, let me ask you for one thing. If you can leave a like, thank you so much. It's the best way to show support. If you can subscribe, well, in that case, yeah, you already know. Forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Now, link for the original video in my description and let's play it.
Total power grid collapse.
We're coming for you, man. First floor roof is starting to fall in.
It created a humanitarian crisis.
A statewide blackout.
Oh my god.
Texas, a state known for its resilience against heat, suddenly finds itself at the mercy of two brutal winter storms.
Okay, my friends, before we continue with the video, let me say one thing. I love Texas, but I was not even aware that, snow freezing was even a thing there. But I guess it is, right?
Families are left grappling with the unprecedented cold and days-long power outages.
No power.
It soon becomes a life-threatening situation. We'll unravel the Great Texas Freeze, from how it became a record holder to all the ways this could have been less devastating. When the cold front hit that Wednesday, electric utility crews said they were prepared to respond to all reports of power outages. But this could not have been further from the truth.
Why?
The next morning, the first weather advisory was issued in northwest Texas. Isolated freezing rain began falling and expanded to neighboring counties after sunset. At 6:30 p.m., a Delta Airlines flight slides off the Pittsburgh International Airport taxiway.
Slides off? Okay, everything was freezing basically, right, my friends? Holy, this will be a difficult video to watch because, you guys know I love Texas. I at this point I know so many of you that are Texans, and I love you guys so much that this will be difficult to watch for me.
With no reports of injuries, passengers were on the aircraft for 3 hours before disembarking. It would be another 24 hours before the plane was removed from the runway. While the Delta incident was quickly managed, it was only the first taste of what was to come as the situation in Texas escalated rapidly. Hours later, the Fort Worth 911 center was inundated with desperate calls.
What do I do? Oh my god! I think I hit one of them. I'm confused. My car was spinning. There's a gentleman in a car next to me. He's just screaming. I don't know how many cars have packed up. They're all stacked on top of each other.
First responders arrived at a massive car accident involving 133 vehicles.
100? Man, okay, this was really, really crazy. Sorry, I'll try to not pause that much anymore. But this is catching me by surprise. I knew it was bad, but seems like it was even worse than I thought.
Many of those involved were healthcare workers wearing scrubs and hospital badges. This included an off-duty EMT who jumped into action, working for hours even though he had a fractured ankle and other injuries from the collision.
Real hero.
We're coming to get you, all right? You hurting anywhere? Can you crawl out if I break this window?
Fire engines subsequently closed off the roadway to prevent further pileups. Nearly 120 emergency responders were on the scene to clear the roadway. Meanwhile, buses arrived to help motorists warm up after being freed from their cars to prevent hypothermia. After a 4-hour operation, the death toll would stand at 6, while more than 60 others were treated for injuries, among them 4 police officers. Due to the storm's severity and the scale of the accident, it would be several more days before the road was cleared. The collision was the most staggering crash during the February 2021 storms, but there were many more to come. As the
I never saw a crash like that. It's crazy.
Disaster unfolded, Texas declared a state of emergency. However,
course.
the response revealed a significant oversight. Despite prioritizing gas, they relied heavily on electric heating. This revealed a lack of preparedness in managing energy.
Man.
By the weekend, the freezing temperatures had forced 22 gas power plants to close. The infrastructure, including the production facilities and pipelines, were not designed to operate in such cold conditions. With the demand increased, prices spiked, making heating even more expensive and heightening the risks of power outages. Additionally, shutdowns across critical industries threatened to disrupt the economy, not just locally, but nationwide.
I mean, forget the economy. At this point, what matters is to save that amazing people.
As if that was not enough, an unprecedented winter event was heading straight for southeastern Texas. By the afternoon, an Arctic cold front hit with snow, sleet, and freezing rain battering the area and intensified overnight. The storm was driven by two weather patterns. First, higher than normal pressure over the polar region meant lower pressure in the northern U.S., letting extremely cold air move into Texas. And second, a polar vortex that pushed down intense bursts of cold from the North Pole. Roads became impassable, and temperatures dropped to the teens or single digits in places with wind chills below zero. This triggered the state's first ever wind chill and hard freeze warnings. Demand for electricity and gas soared as people bitterly tried to stay warm in unprepared homes. Due to the overwhelming demand, unplanned outages started happening, and soon the energy provider ERCOT issued a warning about potential rolling blackouts. That very day, President Joe Biden declared a state of emergency. In the early hours of the morning, ERCOT instructed electric companies to reduce power to prevent a grid shutdown. This action, known as load shedding, resulted in more than 3.6 million people losing electricity. Among those affected were the Beckel family, and it all started with a 911 call.
The fire.
We think medical, a wellness check.
What's going on?
We have family there right now, and the last time somebody spoke to them, they fainted on the phone, and we're just trying to find out if they're okay.
Okay, stand on line for Houston Medical. 1 moment.
The Houston Fire Department knocked on the door 13 minutes later, but left when there was no answer. When dispatch returned the call, he didn't warn the firefighters about possible carbon monoxide poisoning.
Nobody's on the scene, so it's one of those things. If they get there and they have to force entry, they're going to break the door, displace the lock.
Yeah, that's fine. Do that as soon as possible.
Okay. But this isn't your family member, right?
I mean, this is our family. We think that they might have inhaled carbon monoxide in the garage.
Why do you think that?
Because of people that had called them in the morning.
Why would he have been inhaling carbon monoxide is the question.
Yeah.
Because the car was on in the garage and they were cooking because the power was out. They were trying to charge their devices.
Well, we have units out there. I'll let them know. Make a tactical decision on that incident. I'll get HPD out there.
Again, they left without speaking to anyone inside. It had been more than 2 hours since the first call, and the anxious family member had heard nothing.
I called 2.5 hours ago for a wellness.
Okay, let me say one thing, and this applies not just for America, also to my country. The first responders, firemen, etc. That people, we should treat them better. I really believe that, because they are the ones that when things go crazy, we need them. So they are real heroes.
Check, I'm calling for an update.
Okay, so we went out there.
Did you make contact with the people inside the home? I spoke to the fire department earlier. It says the truck was there for 15 minutes, but that's all they could tell me.
Okay, that's
people
the
are still
same
not
thing I can tell you. So I have the same information they have. There's no other update.
Even though this was the third visit to the house, the fire department got lost. They arrived just around midnight. There was still no response to the knocking. However, this time, they didn't just walk away. Instead, they called with additional questions before entering the house.
They went to the address. They said it looks empty. Why do y'all think someone's there? Or are y'all sure someone's there?
We think that a family of 2 parents and 2 children is unconscious due to carbon monoxide inhalation.
Inside, all 4 family members were found unresponsive. It's believed the family had been unconscious for more than 12 hours before responders arrived. For the 46-year-old mother and her 7-year-old daughter, it was far too late. They were both pronounced dead at the scene. The father and his 8-year-old son were unconscious but alive and rushed to the hospital. Tragically, the front door to the family home had been unlocked all along. Later, it was discovered that the mother was using her car to keep warm. When her husband went to the garage, he found her unconscious inside the car with the engine still running. A Conroe family also woke up to an unimaginable tragedy less than 24 hours later. 11-year-old Christian Pavone was found unresponsive in the bed he was sharing with his younger brother. Just hours earlier, Christian had been excited to see snow for the first time after moving to the U.S. from Honduras in 2019 to live with his mom. Tragic home video footage shows him playing in the snow. In hopes of staying
Oh, please don't tell me that kid is dead.
warm, the entire family of 5 huddled in a single room in the family's mobile home. Christian was pronounced dead that afternoon, seemingly from hypothermia. But the autopsy would tell a different story, one that would lead to a lawsuit. While families faced the brunt of the storm inside their homes, outside, the state's infrastructure began to crumble under pressure. By this point, many methane gas processing plants had lost power because they weren't listed as essential services. This made it harder to supply gas to power stations. To combat the energy shortfall, regulators manually boosted the electricity supply, but this action triggered a sudden spike in prices, with residents seeing dramatically higher energy bills. Neighboring states were also affected by the cold, but managed to import power from the unaffected East Coast. However, this offered little reprieve for Texas, which has a largely autonomous electric grid with limited outside connections.
Oh, okay. So basically, Texas is independent when it comes to energy, right? That's why the other states could not help. Man, this makes a lot of sense. Do you guys think this was the main problem? The main problem, actually. Man, what a tragic event. This is getting difficult to watch.
It was 5 days into the storm, and it just kept getting worse. Grocery stores were starting to feel the weight of the supply issues. Customers were limited in the water and propane sales. Meanwhile, there were conflicting statements in the media regarding the blackout. Government officials said that renewable energy was mainly responsible, while ERCOT contradicted this by saying that frozen wind turbines were not the main factor in the blackouts. The following day, temperatures started picking up, but Texans were unaware of what was still to come. As the day progressed, more power generation was restored and the rolling blackouts ended throughout the state. As the power crisis eased up, a new challenge emerged. The extreme weather had caused water mains to break, forcing people to drip their faucets to prevent pipes from freezing. Additionally, power outages impacted water treatment plants, resulting in a decrease in the water system pressure. The consequences were dire. Almost
Okay, my friend, sorry I have to pause. This was a real tragedy, right? Actually, I know I have a lot of people watching from Texas. Anyone end up getting affected by this? If so, leave me a comment with your experience, my friend. This was a dark time, I would assume, if you end up facing this. But yeah, share with us your experience, you know.
half of Texans were left without access to clean water. Their only option was to boil water from taps or melt snow. Unfortunately, due to the ongoing power outages, many were unable to do so.
My friends, I don't think I will repeat myself one more time. You guys know I love Texas, but the government here end up failing you guys. I mean, this cannot happen to such a state like Texas, you know. You guys are so amazing in so many things.
The severity of the situation was documented on social media, which was flooded with images of people filling buckets with water and resorting to makeshift solutions like using plastic bags and toilets. The power outages even disrupted food distribution, causing some to be turned away from queues. But for some, it was even worse. Burst pipes and water mains caused severe flooding in some homes and apartments. Most houses had their water mains buried in the front yard, hidden under layers of snow, making it hard for residents to locate the shutoff valve. While residents struggled with frozen water mains, another emergency unfolded. Firefighters were called to a blaze at the Hilton Garden Inn. They arrived at the hotel where flames and huge columns of smoke were rising from the roof. The hotel was booked to capacity, with locals occupying most of the 102 rooms due to the severe weather, which had left them with limited or no access to water at their homes.
4 rooms are starting to fall in. If we're going to start doing checking there, we need to start forcing the doors. No time for keys. Some type of Salvation Army response. We got a large number of displaced residents. A large number.
2 days.
Okay, my friends, sorry for asking this, and this is a very serious video and a very important one actually, because I think we can learn from this. Normally I react to videos that are a bit more fun, as you guys are aware, but if you still enjoy this type of videos, feel free to leave me a like. That way I may react to more similar content, because at the end of the day this is also very interesting.
Before the fire, frozen pipes had caused flooding in the hotel lobby. To prevent further damage, the fire sprinkler system was turned off. Unfortunately, this left the building vulnerable. When the fire started, the disabled sprinklers let the...
So basically, this is a butterfly effect. One problem leads to the other. The solution for the other now end up causing another problem. It's crazy.
Fire spread quickly. Firefighting was made even harder because burst pipes had also damaged the city's water supply. Firefighters were able to contain the blaze after midnight. One guest suffered minor injuries, and 2 others were treated for smoke inhalation. Sadly, a family pet named Chico the Chihuahua was lost in the fire. Just before the 9th day, the Great Freeze was finally over. But for victims affected by the power crisis, their fight was only just beginning. And it was time to figure out why things had gone so horribly wrong.
True.
Was the Great Freeze really unprecedented? And was it a coincidence that Texas was caught so off guard? The main issue was undoubtedly the high energy demand for heating in an unprepared state. The disaster was blamed on unprecedented weather, but it was somewhat predictable. This was the 3rd time recommendations were ignored. Surprisingly, the situation could have been much worse. During the power outage, ERCOT admitted in narrowly avoiding a prolonged blackout that could have lasted for months. The company defended its actions, which resulted in the largest forced power cut in U.S. history. Approximately 90% of Texans rely on ERCOT for their electricity, which primarily comes from sources like natural gas, wind, and coal. Despite its crucial role, ERCOT does not operate its own power grid. Instead, it works with over 1,800 companies, providers, and utilities in the energy market to manage the supply of electricity. Tragically, at least 19 people died from carbon monoxide poisoning during the storm. Among them was 11-year-old Christian Pavone, whose autopsy revealed a similar cause of death. Initially suspected to have succumbed to hypothermia, it was later found that carbon monoxide poisoning was the actual culprit. Investigators found the fatal fumes were caused by a gas-powered generator intended for outdoor use. Notably,
but people end up being so desperate, you know what I mean, that they tried to make some type of fit with everything they had, right? Well, my friends, this is a heavy, a heavy event. Let's put things that way, and I think should be a bit more covered actually, because so many people died.
Texas is among 6 states without a mandate for carbon monoxide alarms. Soon, thousands of Texans filed lawsuits against ERCOT for deaths, injuries, and damages. But they would fail. The Supreme Court ruled that the energy supplier has sovereign immunity, which protects government agencies that provide essential services. There were 246 deaths in total, but even this was debated by the community. The storms caused 80 to 130 billion in losses from damages and missed opportunities. Nearly a year later, the National Transportation Safety Board's investigation into the 133-car pileup found that road operators had been warned about the severe weather. While de-icer was applied to the road surface, temperatures dropped lower than expected, which led to treacherous road conditions. Since then, Texas has passed Senate Bill 3, which mandates the weatherization of energy infrastructure to withstand extreme weather and requires regular compliance inspections. ERCOT improved its response to emergencies and public communication, creating a more reliable grid. The Public Utility Commission of Texas also strengthened management and enforcement to ensure compliance with new standards. Furthermore, public awareness campaigns have educated residents on home insulation, emergency preparations, and the dangers of carbon monoxide poisoning. But questions remain. Will these measures handle future extreme weather? Will weatherization finally be a priority? And most importantly, is Texas prepared for future storms?
Man, I hope so.
Watch this episode next. If you found this...
Okay. My friends, this was, again, it was very interesting, but also difficult to watch because, at the end of the day, maybe I even have people that have families, suffering with all of this. And that's something that you guys know, I respect a lot. Let me take a look at the beginning. This was also crazy to see all the cars crashing. Man. And of course, those people losing, in this case, the mother and the daughter, right? But yeah, a lot of stories that are not here. I'm also aware of that. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. Like I said, it really means a lot that you guys end up staying until the end. And this was a different video, but see you guys in the next one. Bye.